Goat who ate flowers. All right. Let's see the... From the moment they saw him, Klaus and Trina knew they must have the goat as their own. He had silky white hair and a long pointed beard that waggled when he chewed. His ears were thin and pointed. His hooves were delicate and strong. His eyes were a pale amber color that seemed to look right through you. So their father bought the goat for them, but you'll have to take care of him yourselves, he told them. And if he gets into any trouble, out he goes. Oh, we will, they agreed, and we'll see that he doesn't get into trouble. Klaus and his father built a little lean-to to the garden shed, and they put the goat there. Trina made a bed for him of nice clean straw, and her mother gave her 2 old bowls for his food and water, and every day they cleaned his lean-to and his bowls and fixed his bed afresh. They bought a collar and attached a length of rope to it. Everywhere they went, they took Piet, the white goat. Then their father made a small wagon for them, and they taught Piet to pull them in the wagon when they had harnessed to it. That was in the fall. They were the happiest children in Holland, and Piet was the happiest goat. In the winter, they had fun together, playing in the snow. Their father fitted up runners on the wagon, and Piet pulled them over the white road to the canal whenever it froze so they could skate. And sometimes Piet came out on the ice, skittering around on his delicate hooves in a most ridiculous fashion. And when they laughed, he would stop and waggle his beard at them reproachfully. Then it was spring, and Aunt Willie came to live with them. She was a big, stout woman with her hair piled high and 3 chins and lots of rings. They were beautiful rings that glittered in the light, and one of them was the most beautiful of all. It was so white and shining that it dazzled you if you stared at it very long. Your Uncle Adrian gave that to me. It is the most precious thing I own, she said. And a tear fell down her front, for Uncle Adrian had died, and that was why she had come to live with them. You must be kind and thoughtful to Aunt Willie, their mother told them. She's sad and lonely. Do what you can to cheer her up. So, first of all, they showed her their dog and cat and duck and goose and Piet, the white goat. She stared at Piet coldly. Oh, take him away, she said, drawing her skirts close. I do not like goats. But Piet is special, they cried. I do not like goats, she repeated. I don't want him ever to come near me.
We like goats?
Yeah, we do. That made it hard because by this time, Piet had the run of the garden. Afterwards, whenever they saw Aunt Willie coming out of the house, they had to rush and tie Piet up. Piet didn't like it, for Aunt Willie seemed to be in the garden all the time. Aunt Willie loved flowers. She got bulbs and seeds and little plants from the greenhouse and planted them all over the garden, in long beds and short beds, in round beds and square beds, and along the hedge and around the house, and in rows of pots that she set on a bench in a sheltered place. Every day she was out in the garden cutting and weeding and pruning and picking. Piet either had to go for a walk with Klaus and Trina or be tied up in his lean-to. One day, when Aunt Willie came to the back door to see how everything was getting on, She let out the most terrible cry. They all came running. "What's the matter?" they asked fearfully, and Aunt Willie pointed a trembling hand. "My begonias!" she wailed. "Every one of them! Oh, that dreadful creature!" Klaus's heart sank, and so did Trina's. They were just ready to say that it was wrong to blame Piet for something like that, but there stood Piet, a piece of rope dangling from his collar, and he was nibbling at the flower. When he heard their voices, he turned, and a red begonia protruded from his lips. His beard waggled, and the red begonia disappeared. Aunt Willie cried, and their mother patted her on the back. And their father assured her it would not happen again. Klaus and Trina got a stouter rope and tied Piet up. They told him he must be very, very careful, or they would all get into trouble. Everything was all right for a while, except that Aunt Willie could not even bear to hear Piet mentioned. Then one morning he nibbled the heads off 6 prize tulips. Aunt Willie grew purple with anger, and all her chins shook. "That goat is a menace!" she cried. "My beautiful, beautiful tulips! Oh, I never want to see him again!" Klaus and Trina took great care that Aunt Willie saw as little as possible of Piet. For a while he was very good, and he stayed in his lean-to, except when they took him for walks or for a wagon ride. But then one afternoon he broke loose and ate a potted lily that Aunt Willie was about to take to a friend. She had been guarding that lily for weeks, waiting for it to bloom, and now just as it was ready, Piet had eaten it. This absolutely settles it," Aunt Willie said, twittering with anger. "Either that goat goes or I do." Well, they could not say that they'd rather have Piet than Aunt Willie, and their father decided that Piet must really go this time. He had done enough damage. "But we have to find him a good home," Klaus and Trina begged. "Please let us keep him till we're sure he'll have a good home. Maybe somewhere nearby so we can go see him once in a while." "Oh, very well," said Aunt Willie reluctantly, "but be quick about it. He's disturbing my health. I never did like goats, and this one is a dreadful goat." They asked around town. They asked all their friends, and they put a nice ad in the paper, but no one seemed to want a goat. "Well, then we'll have to put him on a farm," their father said. "I'll speak to Farmer Cornelius tomorrow." Klaus and Trina wept in their rooms and came to dinner red-eyed, but they knew this was the end. They had agreed that if Piet got into trouble, he'd have to go, and he had gotten into dreadful trouble. Aunt Willie pretended not to see their red eyes. "Oh, after dinner we will play anagrams together," she said, beaming at them. "I bought a new box of them today, and I will give you each a handicap." She felt happy now that it was settled that Piet would go. But when she went to get the box of anagrams from her room, she was gone a long time, and when she came back her face was white. "It's gone," she cried. "My beautiful ring, the one Adrian gave to me. I've hunted high and low. Children, did you see it? Oh, what can have happened to it? I shan't sleep till I find it." They hunted all over the house, under the chairs and the rugs and the tables and beds and dressers. They hunted in drawers and boxes and desks. They hunted down cellar and in the closets and in the linen press and the stove and the copper diff pot and the fireplace and the china cupboard. They hunted everywhere they could think of, tearing the house to pieces with their hunting. But the ring was not to be found, and Aunt Willie was growing hysterical. "It has been stolen! I know it!" she cried, weeping. "Oh, who could have got in here and stolen my beautiful ring? And how shall I ever find it again?" Aunt Willie wasn't the only one who didn't sleep that night. None of them slept a wink for trying to think where the ring could be and what they should do next. The early next morning, Klaus and Trina crept outside to feed and water Piet for the last time and say goodbye to him. It was a bright sunny day, but to them it was as dark as if a black cloud had covered the whole sky. Piet wasn't in his lean-to. Their hearts pounded, fearful of what they would find. A piece of rope dangled from a hook, and that meant he had broken loose again. They hurried around the other side of the house, and there, just as they had dreaded, was Piet. He had nibbled the heads off of all of Aunt Willie's precious columbines, and now he was eating the stalks. They crept closer. Just then Aunt Willie came to the door and shrieked, "My columbines! My beautiful flowers! Oh, this is too much!" But they called, "Aunt Willie, come quick, come quick!" "I can see it from here," she answered. "It's enough to make me ill." No, come quick!" Their voices rose with excitement. She hurried over, and her eyes fairly popped. Piet was pointing his waggly beard toward the ground, and there, winking up at them, was her favorite diamond ring. "You see," Klaus said eagerly. "He found it for you. He ate a circle around it, so you'd be sure to see it," Trina said happily, "and he was pointing his beard right at it." Aunt Willie brushed the dirt off the ring and slipped it on her finger. Then she reached out and patted Piet on the head, very gingerly, but it was a real pat. "Oh, I should never have looked here in 100 years," she said, and her voice sounded kind. "I must have dropped it when I was working in the bed yesterday." Klaus and Trina held their breath. Then Aunt Willie said, "It would be a shame to send him away now." "Oh, Aunt Willie," they cried, "do you mean—" "I can always get more flowers," she said. "But I could never get a ring like this. He's really quite a remarkable goat." Klaus and Trina hugged Aunt Willie, and then they hugged Piet. Piet waggled his head, as if to say that he thought he was remarkable too.